In 1979, Rhodesia was at a tipping point as Ian Smith's white minority government battled to stay in power after nearly 15 years of intermittent civil war. A year later, Zimbabwe was born, with Robert Mugabe at its head.
He appeals to the liberation era. He's also appeals to people who feel empowered or who feel that he has done a lot in terms of the land redistribution post-2000, and also that, he's challenging the Western model. He's challenged to the UK, to the EU, to the United States. Does have a lot of resonance for many, not just Zimbabweans, but for many Africans.
The young Mugabe spent 10 years in prison for subversion in the 1960s. An avowed Marxist, he became a symbol of African independence from European colonial regimes. His ZANU party swept to power in Zimbabwe's first free elections in 1980. And as Prime Minister, his first priorities were education, health, and the development of democracy.
For the first few years, I think you have to say that Mugabe was a very wise leader. There were some major catastrophes, particularly by the use of too much force to put down what he thought was rebellion in the west side of the country. But really, for the first 10, perhaps even 15 years, Mugabe led the country very, very well.
30 years on, the image of Mugabe has shifted from freedom fighter to that of dictator. He stands accused of trampling on press and judicial freedom, as well as massive human rights abuses. The last decade has been a sorry one for Zimbabwe. Power cuts, inflation, food shortages and alleged electoral fraud have plunged the country into a state of chaos, while Mugabe has isolated himself on the international stage.
You get mad people in Europe, mad people who refuse and reject the truth, mad people who defy international law.
5 years ago, Zimbabwe went to the polls to elect their president, but it was a campaign fraught with violence towards the supporters of Morgan Tsvangirai. He led after the first round, but withdrew to prevent further deaths and accepted the post of Prime Minister in order to form a government of national unity. It's been a balancing act ever since, and another win for Mugabe sees him extend his grip on power into its 34th year.